So in this beginning part, I'm basically using the 320 that you gave me, and then I move up from 320 to 500, and from 500 up to 1000, and I'm using all this progression of stones just to remove material from the side. I'm using your 320 first because obviously it takes off more material at once, and I want to be able to get it as thin as I can behind the edge. And then once I feel like I've taken off enough with the 320 and I don't want to take off too much more, but I still need to thin it, I'll use the 500. And then the same thing once I'm done with the 500 and I feel like, okay, the edge only really needs to be thinned behind the edge a little bit more with the 1000, then I'll switch to the 1000. So in this section, you'll see that process. And here I'm kind of pointing to you and showing you where I'm actually thinning. It's from that like shiny part up. So, you'll see me sort of point at the, where I'm working the blade and try to show you, the different parts. And every time that it fades in and out from, like it'll go black and then I'll come back every time like it fades. That's me going and checking on the coil, just making sure that, my angles are correct, that I'm removing the material where I'm supposed to, where I want to be removing the material. And just generally just, keep you work both sides of the knife when you're thinning, and then like you just make sure you're keeping track of how much you're actually taking off. Don't just do it willy-nilly. Always check your progress. Always use always be checking your coil as much as you possibly can. Yeah, that's it for this part. All right, at this point, I have finished thinning the knife, but now it's all scratched up on both sides because you remove material and, it damages the sides where you did the thinning. So what I'm doing is I'm using just a two-step progression of sandpaper. The first one is 320, and then the second one is 800. And I'm only showing you one side just because it's the same thing on both sides. But I'm showing you basically how I'm holding the knife. I hold it steady with my hand instead of using a clamp or anything like that, just because I trust my grip over using some sort of C clamp, especially because the way I hold it, I make sure that the edge is digging into the wood. It's not, if I need to sand near the edge, I'm not worried about, the edge actually nipping my finger or anything. I'm really just sort of, in control of the situation as opposed to relying on some sort of clamp or wedge system to keep it in place. It's basically just working in strokes towards straight lines, removing all the scratches as you can, sort of getting like an even finish on both sides with the same grits, and then moving up to 800, getting finer polish to get rid of most of the scratches. And then after this, there's only one more step, and that's just polishing the edge. So at this point, I've thinned it behind the edge, and I have it the tip ground down enough to the point where the edge itself doesn't need to be sharpened, just needs to get polished because of how thin it already is. So that's the next step after the hand sanding. All right, so right now, the hand sanding is done, the edge is thinned, and all it needs to do is get polished. So, hang on, I just sneezed. Excuse me. So, now I'm going to use the Shapton Glass 2K first, get a good polish on it, then I'll strop it on my Shapton Glass 4K, then I'll strop it on my King 8K, and then I'll finish it on leather. And by the time that's done, it's pretty fucking sharp. So, that's it for this video. If you want to continue to watch from here on out to see the angles and everything I do and sort of how long I take on each step, feel free to pay attention. But other than that, yeah, that's it.